All right. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Jomo Stewart and company here at the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation. It is Tuesday, October 31st. Happy Halloween, everyone. We're here for our latest Energy for All Alaska Task Force. It's right after 8 o'clock in the a.m. Here in the room, we have guests. We have guests. So as always, we have the intrepid Roger Burgraff. We have Mr. David Prusak. He and I actually did some time over at IGU, which was a hoot. We have Representative Mike Protz. We have Katie Yarrow with the Interior Gas Utility, as well as, I'm sorry, Miss
Maria Sanders with Recon.
Maria Sanders with Recon, an engineering and surveying company. Okay, so now we've made our introductions. So our guests are the Interior Gas Utility here to give us our regular update, and our general manager, Miss Elena Sudduth. So I will hand it over to you. The floor is yours, ma'am. Oh, and as always, guys, I've got a little better connectivity now with my second screen working. But if you have a question, a comment, you can always just throw up your hand, take yourself off of mute. Again, this is for our mutual benefit. All right, so thank you, Miss Elena. This floor is yours.
Good. Thank you, Jomo, and good morning, everyone. Jomo reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, asking for an update, and I think the main driver for that request was the fact that we have Interior Gas Utility has just recently signed our last contract to make the North Slope LNG happen, which was the contract with a trucking company. And so this is an update about that and about a couple of other things that have happened since the last time we spoke, which was maybe 6 months ago, probably less. So thank you for having us this morning. I'm sorry I'm not there. I was on autopilot this morning, so I made it to the office. So first, a little bit of a construction update. On October 15th of this year, we have finished our 2024 construction. So during that construction season, we've installed 535 new services. That is everybody in the Fairbanks and North Pole area who has requested gas service, they received it. 405 of those services were in Fairbanks, with the balance being in North Pole. And then you can see a rather similar change in numbers under residential and commercial. I don't know why I can't talk this morning. I apologize. So we have 396 residential and 129 commercial customers. We've installed Interior Gas Utility invests about $1 million every year in main lines. And so and it's approximately $250,000 per mile, and so we've installed about 4 miles of main line again this summer. This 4 miles of main line brought natural gas service to about 56 customers. And as soon as we finish one construction year, we immediately start the other construction year. So we already have collected 81 applications that are approved for construction. In order for us to approve an application for construction, 2 things have to happen. The customer has to commit to IGU, and IGU has to commit to the customer. So when the customer commits, they pay their application fee, complete all of their application, and agree to turn on and start utilizing natural gas service within 6 months of IGU installation. Now, on the IGU side, we have to either have a main line that is available on that at that address, or we have to agree to extend a main line to that location. These 81 applications that were received, they are all infill. So we do not have we have not made any mainline extension decisions for next summer yet. Jomo, I'm assuming you're monitoring the chat, or do you want me to?
Both. Yes, I see we already have a question. So where was the new main line installed?
There was a lot of little main lines, so we usually do not extend in one big bulk, and instead what we do is we follow concentration of customer interest. So every time somebody who does not already have mainline availability applies for a natural gas service, we put a red dot on a map. And then when we are in a position to start making mainline extension decisions, we are looking at the concentration of red dots that are close to our existing structure. So rather, I don't have a specific area. I was both in Fairbanks and in North Pole, both on the outskirts of our distribution system and infill. Some of these main lines were very short main lines that only went to one customer because we in the past have stopped right before their property line, and we have others that we've extended significant portions for a lot of different customers.
So
Okay.
regarding your
Go ahead.
market, again, this is 535 new service lines installed. I wanted to say that your plan was to be able to install up to 600. So
Yes.
it fits comfortably within that. Is that kind of your estimated capacity in a summer is about 600 new service line extensions, or could we do more?
We could do more if there was more interest, and there were funds available. So the year before we installed 635 lines. This year we've installed 535. Now the guiding document that Interior Gas Utility utilizes in order to figure out how many main lines, how many new services are to be installed is our pro forma. So our pro forma takes into consideration the entire viability of the business, to include our debt coverage ratios and our projected rates for 10 years and 10 years to come, and all of the things that make us a viable utility. So that pro forma, in addition to everything that I've just said, has how many new customers Interior Gas Utility is to install, so that the rest of the predictions, if you will, come true. Last year, the pro forma asked for 480 some new lines, so we've overcome the pro forma by installing 635. And this year, the pro forma wanted 528 new lines. And again, we went above that. We are currently purchasing all of our materials for next season. A lot of those are longer lead items, and we are preparing for we are going to have materials on hand for 700 lines.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so as I figure out how to move the slides. Okay, so I'm gonna talk here about a tour that we had on, we went to North Slope to visit the new facility that is being built by Harvest. But before then, just because we have so many people on call, just a very brief recap on what we are even doing on the North Slope. So in April of 2022, Hillcorp gathered all of the utilities that are sourcing natural gas from the Cook Inlet, and they have told us to not expect or to not rely on contractual commitments past the current contract. IGU does have a contract in the Cook Inlet for natural gas feedstock for that can last us until 2032. However, because we are growing, like I was talking about on the previous page, we have to have additional liquefaction capacity in order to be able to sustain the growth. So right around that time that Hillcorp made the announcement that they did, our board of directors was looking at a significant investment in additional liquefaction capacity. So we were going to spend about $60 million to expand our liquefaction plant that is in Cook Inlet. Now, because we could not have a significant amount of trust that after we spend so much on an asset, it's going to remain usable for the foreseeable future, we switched gears, and we now have 2 contracts on the North Slope, all 3 now. One with Hillcorp that is going to provide us natural gas feedstock, one with Harvest that is currently building a liquefaction plant that is capable of producing about 3 times as much LNG as compared to our current liquefaction capacity. And then we have the transportation contract that I'm going to talk about here briefly. So in September, a group of us went to the North Slope to see all of the progress that has been made, and it's just amazing to be able to see how much work entities can do in such a remote environment as the North Slope is. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that progress there. Harvest, the biggest regulatory, the biggest potential regulatory difficulty that could have been encountered was the receipt of the air permit, and Harvest applied for and rather promptly received their air permit, which then allowed them to break ground on civil work in July. They have had ever since a crew of 15 to 20 Alaskans working on site. They have installed all of their piles and thermosiphons and liner and concrete foundations for the 3 buildings that are necessary to carry on this operation. And they are now taking prefabricated buildings. They're on the road. They're supposed to arrive to the North Slope at the beginning of November, and they are going to also complete the final engineering this year. Now, I see there's a question. We did not drive either direction. We flew there. The question was, did we drive north or south? So for the rest of the work that is necessary, Harvest had to wait for the ground to freeze so that they can on tundra install the gas supply and the gas supply and return pipeline that is associated with the connection. And so they are going to pretty soon have that work done. They are going to complete the buildings, at least one building. It's weather dependent. They're sending us pretty regular photos, and some of those photos look like nobody should be doing construction at that time. And so to their ability, they will have all of the buildings there. They're going to try to erect at least 1 or 2 of those buildings this season still. And then as you can see, there is all of the work that is necessary. It's a very simplified bullet list because obviously a lot has to happen in order for the facility commissioning and startup. But we had them in our office last week on Tuesday, and one of the questions we forever ask is, well, is everything on track? And they continue to reaffirm that everything is on track, with the first truck supposed to arrive in Fairbanks from the North Slope in October of 2024, so a year from now.
Well, we've got a pause. I would open up the floor to questions.
Oh. Right as I figured out how to switch the slides.
Okay, well, it's all right, miss. I don't see any hands flying up.
Okay. So, oh, I see something. Who owns the haul trucks? Okay, so let's talk about that. Just recently, we have signed a contract with Helzer Logistics. Helzer is our current transportation contractor. They have been hauling LNG for us since June on our regular route from Cook Inlet to Fairbanks and North Pole. And they were also awarded the North Slope contract. That this is a 5-year contract that they have received, and the clock starts ticking when they deliver the first LNG load from the North Slope to Fairbanks. The very last piece that is necessary for this work is the fact that we have to get some more LNG trailers. And this is one of the agenda items for the next board meeting. If everything goes well, the board will authorize the general manager to sign a contract with a trailer manufacturer. We are going to purchase 15 high-capacity trailers to support our work on the North Slope.
What does high capacity mean? What, compared to what you already have?
So we have some of the trailers that are high capacity. It's about 13,500 gallons of LNG. So we have 4 of those. They are on the older side. 4 is not enough, and they have to be built for the Dalton Highway, which obviously has slightly different conditions than the Parks Highway. Most of our current trailers are about 9,000 to 10,000 gallons of capacity, and so when you're putting them on a longer road, you want to maximize payload.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions. So there will be for a time, we'll have dual supply, as in supply coming up from the south and down from the north, or will we be transitioning entirely to the North Slope?
Sure, that's a fair question. The plan as of now is that we will be transitioning entirely, and so but the plan also does allow us to, in case of unforeseen circumstances, to have a dual supply. Now, as far as IGU is concerned, we will absolutely keep our Titan facility. We do not have a definitive end date to that. We will keep it in a warm status, and so that we are able to, as you can see, I have coffee showing up because I have amazing employees, but we are going to keep it in warm operational status so that we have the ability to troubleshoot the North Slope plant until we are fully comfortable with it.
Okay. And you said historically, this is the same contractor that has been providing service south to north. And now they'll be providing from the North Slope south. Where are their truckers going to be located?
Oh, so you're saying it is the same contract for trucking, correct?
Say again? Yes, for the trucking.
Okay. So right now, Hauser employs both Valley drivers and Fairbanks drivers. They can continue with that model where they can hire more Fairbanks drivers. Interior Gas Utility has little to no control over hiring decisions and and where truckers will be located. Hauser is responsible for that.
Okay, just a general question.
Sure. Is Hauser Logistic oh, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
No, it is not. It is Hauser Logistics is not a Ray Latcham company. It is it's owned by Eric Hauser. It is a North Pole company.
And so again, I guess the basics, you all will own the trailers. You've contracted for the haulage. So they provide the trucks and the drivers. Yes,
and that is a strategic decision by IGU. We even back during FNG times, the gas utility always owned the trailers. There is a situation under which we could technically have the transportation company own the trailers, but then what that generates is a dependence on a specific trucking company, as opposed to our ability now to, if anything happens, trailers can be hooked to any truck.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Do we have further questions? It's okay if not. Remember, again, this is for our mutual benefit. So if you come up with one or a comment, you can always raise your hand. You can post in the chat box that's being monitored, or you can simply take yourself off mute and fire away. All right. Thanks, Elena.
Okay, so moving on to a different topic. earlier last week, actually. So last week, there was an announcement by the EPA that Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation was awarded a $10 million targeted airshed grant that is meant to improve air quality. Now, targeted airshed grants are not new to our community. We have been receiving them since, I think, 2012. Don't put that in paper. We have been receiving them for a while, and those are meant for improving air quality. The targeted airshed grant started as grants for people who were burning solid fuels, mostly wood stoves, but also coal home devices. And those people were receiving a grant from the Fairbanks North Star Borough in order to give them the ability to switch to a cleaner fuel source. Then that evolved, and last year the targeted airshed grant that we've received was or for the last 2 years, I believe, oil to gas conversions were available from that grant. This year is going to be once we receive the grant, those funds will be available for pretty much any change from a dirtier fuel source to a cleaner fuel source. Remember, this is an air quality grant, not a conversion to natural gas grant, though Interior Gas Utility does get the side benefit of the fact that our customers get help switching to natural gas. Now, what is different in this grant is that our community applied for the full grant amount at $10 million. That's how much you can apply for. And $4 million out of this grant is going to come to Interior Gas Utility to assist us with mainline extensions. And so once this grant is received, which if past history is any indicator, we will not see this money until probably June or July. But once this money is received, we will have 5 years to spend the $4 million in installing mainline extensions in environmental justice areas. Now, environmental justice is a very broad term. I have looked at maps of our community with environmental justice areas overimposed on them, and it's pretty much our entire community, because in addition to the air quality, it looks at the population of people who speak little English, and older people and younger people, and people from different income brackets, etc. And so because it's such a broad understanding, pretty much all of our the Fairbanks and North Pole area can be included under this grant. So we do not yet have any specific plans for this development. Like I was saying earlier, we keep very strong data about who in our community would be interested in getting natural gas, should natural gas become available to them via mainline. And so we will make decisions based on concentration on consumer interest again, because in order for mainline spending to result in emission reduction, people have to actually convert. Any questions on that? Oh,
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, so $4 million, if I'm doing the math right, that equates to about 16 miles of extensions. Mm-hmm. You said that you did 4 miles of extensions this build season. So I guess first off is another capacity question. That fits comfortably into a 5-year timeline. But again, when they got the original grant, David did, was it 70 miles in 100 days?
75
in 100 days. I guess, is there an air quality abatement component to this? Like, do you have the ability to look at the air quality heat maps and possibly deploy these funds where the air quality is worse, as opposed to where the most economic benefit is to the utility?
We absolutely can. Now, again, there's going to be a lot of education and outreach that would be necessary into those areas. Because as I was saying earlier, the fact that we're going to install main lines is not going to result in emission reduction unless people in those areas convert. And if we don't have interest from those areas, installing main lines will be a waste.
Got it.
But absolutely, we are most interested in being part of the solution to this air quality. This grant is specifically designed for that purpose. And so we will be working with other stakeholders, with Alaska DC and with Fairbanks North Star Borough, to maximize the benefit for air quality. This is an air quality grant. This is not a natural help for material gas utility type of grant.
One comment is that when we broke ground out in North Pole to install gas mains, at that same time, Tammy Wilson was having a counter to that was Save Our Wood Stoves, thinking it was a threat. And look where we're at today out in North Pole. So don't lose faith. Natural gas is the way to go. No question about it. Good luck on that one.
Thank you. I absolutely agree to that, and I believe in it. We are working diligently in North Pole because we have that 75 miles of main, but right now it's only serving less than 500 customers. We are adding to that every year. Like I was saying earlier, we have at least the last 3 years, we've installed to everybody who asked. And so we're going to continue working diligently into that direction.
I have reached out, just for the good of the order, I've reached out to Mr. Hope over at Air Quality to see if we can have a follow-up presentation relative to the Targeted Airshed Grant and the funds available and how, for what purposes. So just know that that's coming. We don't have to rely on you, Elena. I'm hoping to get Mr. Hoke in. I guess a capacity question, and you kind of touched on it. How much backed up potential gas utilization might we have? Again, with 75, we have over 100 miles of pipe in Fairbanks. I know that the pipes run right in front of my house, but unfortunately I haven't hooked up. I will be doing it next summer. Thank you very much. So I need to get my application in.
Welcome to the light side.
Okay, good. Just, yeah, again, I do have a bit of a plan in requesting this presentation, and particularly since we have a policymaker here, again, that we have a resource available to our community that can help us clean up our air. How can we help people transition to that resource? I was just running some math yesterday and found that gas is a bargain relative to the prevailing price of oil.
Oh, why don't we start talking about that?
Okay, here we go.
So here is a cost comparison between so when we make cost comparisons with oil, we consider the delivered heating oil as the closest alternative, because you don't have to do anything for natural gas to show up. We're comparing that to the delivered heating oil. I do want to acknowledge the fact that there are people in the community who haul their own oil, and that comes at a cheaper price. This is for delivered heating oil. So you can see here at the bottom what we're basing our equivalents on. So we're calculating a mix of number 1 and number 2 oil at 135,000 BTUs per gallon, which is a calculation on the benefit of the heating oil. And then and we're not even talking about the ultra low sulfur diesel and their its hitting content. And then 100,000 BTUs per CCF of natural gas, which is a pretty standard calculation, and that's how much energy 1 CCF of our natural gas produces. And so with all of that calculated, the natural gas equivalent is $3.09, which means that anytime anybody spends more than $3.09 per gallon of oil, natural gas would be cheaper. And as of our latest survey, we have survey data going up back to 2000, actually, to the year 2000. Every 2 weeks, we get a new oil survey for delivered heating oil. And the average as of the latest survey, so this data is not older than 2 weeks old. I can't remember exactly when this is. Natural heating oil is 57.6% more expensive.
The cheapest oil I could find this weekend, because I'm one of those self-haulers, was what, $3.88 per gallon for the cash, or excuse me, for the credit card price. So still a considerable savings.
Right, and
Now-
then we would not be including all of the work that you have to put in into that calculation.
Yeah, it does not include all the work I have to put in. Thank you very much. It's messy and cold. I would ask, I know that the price is going to go up a little bit coming from the North Slope. What would that natural gas equivalent price be under the new contract as far as we know it?
So there are two things that we have to differentiate in between: the cost of natural gas to the utility and the cost that then the utility turns around and puts into the tariff to customers. So now that we have all of the data available to us, once we move to the North Slope, the price to the utility is going to increase by about $2 an MCF. That does not, however, mean that the rates to the customers will increase by that amount. And the reason it has every potential not to is because of economies of scale. As we are continuing to work on adding new customers, and we then increase our ability to spread our fixed costs over a bigger population, thus giving us the ability to maintain rates stable or even lower them potentially. So yes, there is a price increase that is coming out from the North Slope. We will not necessarily have to pass that on to customers. Our rates are usually set once a year. They are set through our budgeting process by our board of directors. The budgeting process usually starts around March to April, and it gets finalized in June for our fiscal year to start on July 1st.
Thank you.
Okay. I forever have to say, call 811 before you dig. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, but I will say that very recently we had a line hit by somebody who installed, very recently, I mean 2 weeks ago, the ground was already frozen. Somebody was installing a fence and they did not call 811, and a lot of work had to happen to work on frozen ground to remedy that. And I will take any questions.
Okay, we do have a hand up. Miss Peace.
Yes, hi. First of all, thank you so much for your presentation. I have a question on what the tariff rate is going to be. If LNG is going to be delivered into Fairbanks in October of 2024, what is the delivered price to the IGU storage tank there from the North Slope?
You know, if I can take, here, I'm going to stop sharing. I am going to answer this question. If I can put it on the side for just 1 second while I take the other question, and because I have the exact data. I just don't have it right in front of me.
Okay. Miss Slava.
Thanks. My question is pertaining to outreach. Is there targeted outreach to the areas in which we have a higher concentration of wood burning stoves that are causing some of our air quality concerns and issues?
So again, with this, I would like to differentiate between IGU regular business and the targeted airshed grant efforts. So during the IGU regular business, we are fulfilling our mission to bring natural gas to as many customers in the area as possible, as soon as possible, which is not a mission that is directly related to the air quality, though we are happy to be part of the solution. Now, as we're talking about this targeted airshed grant that is coming, targeted outreach is necessary by the nature of the grant, and so targeted outreach will happen once grants are received.
Thank you.
I'm still looking for the data for Marianne, so if there are other questions, I would love to take them.
So we were discussing early on storage. Now, David
Yeah.
almost threw his hand up. Clark, please fire away.
Let me jump in just for a second, and it's on point while she's still looking for the other information. I was wondering about feedback, and I'll say directly where citizens, wood burners, other people, I'm hoping that you're getting an increasing level of communication and hopefully not satisfaction, but rather belief that you're an honest player. That, you know, I'm hoping, but I'm wondering if there's a substantial portion of your effort to try to communicate with people to say, please, this will be good for the air, but it'll be good for you as well. Anyway, kind of a broad question that I'm hoping you're getting increased feedback from when we were the enemy and IGU FNG was going to fail because they wouldn't have enough customers, and that baloney from 5 or 6 or 8 years ago. Sorry, not that I have an opinion, but
So I'm sorry, Clark, how is this,
If there's-
this is
if
a
there's
comment,
questions-
right? Or do you
I'm hoping you're having increased legitimate feedback from people that need to be not convinced, but rather say, upon introspection, I guess I can walk away or at least set aside my wood stove so that we can help with the air quality. I'm hoping that there's an increasing underlying sentiment among, because we don't have 5,000 problem cases. I think we have 800, and if we merely did that in these key instances where they badly contribute, they burn badly and contribute to the problems, if we could have them in their own heart change and do stuff, then we'll succeed and we'll satisfy EPA and our responsibilities. Again, that wasn't much of a question.
we are happy to be part of the solution, and we are going to work diligently alongside the rest of our community, because it's going to affect everybody in the community. We are a publicly owned utility. We recognize the fact that we are not going to be able to be everywhere. And so any sanctions from the EPA will be negative for including parts of the communities where we are, the community where we are not reaching. And so I don't know if you, for example, in theory, it would benefit IGU too. I really hope that this is not going to be taken out of context, because because I'm about to say a sentence that IGU does not stand by. But in theory, it would benefit IGU for the community to move to ultra low sulfur diesel, because then natural gas becomes even more competitive, right? We have never taken that position because it's not fair to the rest of the community. It does not make sense. And we are a publicly owned utility. We are not here to make money for shareholders that would benefit from that.
And in full disclosure, Clark is a relatively new IGU customer, and from what I understand, very satisfied.
Absolutely, very satisfied. It's convenient. You don't have to worry about anything. No trouble with road traffic or whatever. No, I would heartily recommend it and comment at any time necessary for AG of my satisfaction over.
Clark, let's talk later about getting a testimonial.
Will do. Thanks, Katie.
Clark was the first one who offered when I first started the job, Katie. So.
All right, we do have a question
Clark.
from Mr. Prusak, and we have a very good question in the chat box because I just received that information, I believe, last week when you told me, Elena. So let's start with Mr. Prusak, then we'll go to the chat.
Just that when you look at the data for how quickly people might convert in an area, it was about 15, 18 years ago when NSTAR had chosen to expand their gas system into the valley. They hadn't been there. And so they weren't necessarily looking at how many customers were signing up at that time, but rather what that potential was. And so it was slow in coming. It was slow in coming and getting customers that were connecting in the first 3 or 4 years, but rather testimonials of what happens when you get into the neighborhood, not unlike what Mr. Milne was talking about, and what that happens. And traditionally, what gas utilities have experienced throughout the country. So it might be worth having some of those conversations with NSTAR, lessons learned, what that conversion looks like getting into those areas. And I'm sure you're seeing that, in North Pole, as well, as you get a few more customers and a few more customers, that reliance and the positive components of really what natural gas brings to an area, that ease, that cleanliness, that aspect of being able to walk away from your home for 3 months if you need to, and know that you've got a steady source, reliable. But anyway, those conversion rates, it's worth having some conversation with NSTAR, with their experience up in the valley, from an educational component and everything else, marketing, so forth. So,
Well, and then
just more
compare
of a
that,
statement than anything.
well, and then compare that to the Homer experience, where it was conversions were highly encouraged. And they had a much more rapid conversion rate. You can stimulate it. Well, okay, so we have a question in the chat box. Has the state, has the $15 million reimbursement due to IGU for the LNG storage actually been received? And will the funds be applied against outstanding debt or used in some other manner? Or do we know yet?
So we have just received the funds. We did not expect them. When our controller got the call, we thought it was a prank call because we did not expect that to happen. We have been explicitly told by the Department of Revenue that we are not getting them. But because the prices of oil went up, there were some entities that purchased some of the credits to offset their own liability. They purchased them at a discount, and so IGU has just very recently received them. The board of directors has not made an official decision yet as to how to utilize the funds.
Now, again, when the Interior Energy Project funds came down, again, there were essentially three colors of money. There was the grant portion. There was the loan portion, for which we could possibly get nice terms, but then there was bond money, where it's straight market. My understanding is that the IGU had taken out some actual bond money over the course of the last several years. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. We have about 139 million in sets funds, and I believe, again, don't put this in the paper, it's somewhere between 10 and $15 million in bond funds.
Okay.
And then we have some commercial debt as well, like this building that we're on, for a total of about $150 million in debt funds.
But again, the IEP loan money had very favorable terms. What was it, a 15-year penalty-free deferral on the front end?
We haven't started paying on that yet.
Correct. Followed by a 35-year payback at 0.25% interest. So very favorably termed funds for the now $139 million of state debt.
I just got, sorry, I was trying to answer questions and search my email at the same time, but I just got the cost of LNG Marian's question, if you're okay with that, Jomo.
Yes, please.
So currently we're at $14.34 from the Cook Inlet, and that's going to have a 13% increase to $16.31 from the North Slope.
So say that again.
13% increase, $16.31 per MCF from the North Slope.
To the tank.
To the tank.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, the floor is open. Do we have any further questions? All right, so just as a reminder, yes, I did have a plan, Stan. Thank you very much. I did request this presentation. It was a nice confluence in the timing, again, between the announcement regarding the contract off of North Slope. Now the trucking component has fallen into line. Fresh funds from the EPA under the targeted airshed grants. I didn't know about the $4 million directly to IGU for mainline extensions. So that's very nice. Now I know that there was, at least I feel like from memory, even though there was quite a robust build in, what was it, the 2014 timeframe, David, both North Pole and Fairbanks, there were still some minor gaps in system. How much more infill would we need to do, say, in core Fairbanks?
Well, I have something prepared that kind of answers your question, but also goes into something else that, so if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to share my screen again to show you guys something. Okay, can you see a map now?
Yes.
So we were talking earlier about the red dots that we put on a map every time somebody requests a main line that we are not able to fulfill. And here's that data. This is not available online for security reasons. I can click on anybody here and I know who this person is and I know how to find them. So this is, ignore the green line and the red line. Again, this is an internal map. This is usually not for public consumption. The black is the lines that we currently have. So we have this spur in here because somebody who is on this spur really wanted natural gas, and then they went and lobbied their neighbors. So see, every single one of these small lines is a service line, and that's how we got this random spur that comes up from our line. But this is the area that a lot of people are currently concentrated on. Here's Hearst Road. Interior gas utility is well piped on the south. It is not piped at all on the north. This is Dawson. This is where that air monitor is. And so as you can see, a lot of people are concentrated on to the half-a-mile radius around that monitor. As you can see, there is very, very seldom interest for natural gas around this area. Now, if I move just a little bit to here, look at all of this interest. And so investing into this specific area, though it is not going to necessarily make the monitor happy, will get a lot more air quality benefits. And I'm not saying interior gas utility has made a predetermination. I'm just showing you what we are considering when making mainline extension decision with our own money. That's not targeted airshed grant funds.
David.
You know, they know where some of the highest PM 2.5 contributors are. Do you have that on the map?
Not overimposed on this map, no.
I got you.
So we do have those maps separately.
Yeah, because I mean ADEC and the borough, you know those areas that really would have a dramatic impact on their quality or contribute to the PM 2.5. So from a target side of the world, but
yes, I've seen those maps. We have not overimposed them onto our distribution maps, though we know generally where they are and have that data available, and it will be taken into consideration.
Can you focus back on Fairbanks?
Sure.
And we have another question in the chat box from Mr. Gene Terrio, who's asking some really great questions today. Okay. Just want to be able to see it.
So the question is the IGU working with the Fairbanks North Star Borough on eventual implementation of a PACE financing program that can assist businesses in conversion to natural gas? I have to admit, Gene, I don't know what a PACE financing program is. So the answer is no, we're not working towards that. Though businesses are able to get targeted airshed grant funding.
Gene, you want to take yourself off mute? No. Okay. I will say there are other programs being considered. Oh, no microphone day. Okay, sorry, Gene. There are some other things under consideration as well. Like I remember we got an allowance in statute for on-bill financing some years ago. So that is it's a tool in the toolbox. There's discussions now regarding this green bank proposal and certain sub-proposals under that concept that would make funds available at decent rates for either homeowner and business conversions. And in this PACE program, Gene's talking about, there was CPACE and Anchorage
Oh,
had taken
CPACE, I know what that is. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So I don't know why I had a blank. So the CPACE program is something that is allowed by the state statutes. It is getting implemented in Anchorage, though very, very slowly. It has been a thing in Anchorage. Last I looked at it, it was probably a year and a half to 2 years ago. So at that time, it had been implemented in Anchorage. It had been possible in Anchorage for probably 3 to 4 years, and they were just getting ready to close on their first loan. This is, to my understanding, a financing mechanism for businesses to be able to do energy efficient upgrades to their buildings. In order for us to be able, for us, not meaning IGU, but meaning our community, to be able to implement that, something has to be implemented at the municipal level, so at the borough level. And at that time, it had not been identified as a high priority. We can absolutely check in again.
Yeah, I feel like we were kind of waiting for Anchorage to take the lead and blaze some trail for us.
Those are normally, well, normally. So I looked at the finance, at which financing entities had signed up for Anchorage at the time. And at the time, all that there were these financing entities that were specifically developed for as a CPACE mechanism. No local banks had signed up at the time, no local or national. I mean, I'm talking Denali State Bank or Wells Fargo had signed up. There was just this outside lower 48 financing entities that had things like $1 million minimum for a loan amount. And then we had surveyed, and I would have to brush up all of that data. It's been a while, but we had surveyed all of the local banks and asked them why they didn't sign up. All the local banks that are in Fairbanks and also in Anchorage, asked them why they didn't sign up, and then we had all of the reasons presented in a board of directors meeting. So that's probably publicly available information. I just have to dust it up.
Might I ask you to do one more thing, Miss Elena?
Yeah.
So you say this is not publicly facing, but I believe you do have resources on your website that are publicly facing that kind of let people know where the pipes are, so they could kind of go put in their own address, see how close they are. Do they actually have pipe right in front of their home already, like I do?
So you want me to show our website and
Yes,
walk
please.
people through? Okay. Okay, so here's interiorgasutility.com.
Sign up for service right on the front page.
Right, so if you go under new customers, these are all of the resources that a new customer would need in order to sign up. So if you go to sign up for service, these are the steps to sign up. So the gas service request is what we use to put all of those red dots on the map. We ask everybody to fill this out to include people who do not have availability of natural gas. And so all we're asking for is very basic information: your name, your address, and your contact information, what kind of property you are, and to sign. This is a non-committal application. As you can see, it doesn't have a single piece of fine print on here, because all we're asking for is for a way to contact you should we be able to make a move into your neighborhood. Now, if people are able to get the service, that's when we need some more in-depth information from them. This is the one that's, it's only one page, but it is just a little bit more complicated than the other one. We are going to ask for what appliances you're gonna use, how many of them, and what their BTU load is, so that we can appropriately size your line. And then this is where you sign the service agreement that says that you are going to turn on and start utilizing natural gas service 6 months after the installation. Now, the reason we have this provision is because it is very cheap to sign up for natural gas. And I'm just talking about getting the service line from the street to your house. Now, there's other the funds that people have to spend to do their in-home conversion, but even if compared to other utilities, to include utilities that operate in Fairbanks, Alaska, this is significantly subsidized. It costs $350 to a residential customer and $500 for a commercial customer to get 100 feet of main line, to include their meter installation, their EFV valve, which is a safety device that automatically shuts down if it detects a gas leak after past itself. Everything you'll need only costs $350. Now, for comparison purposes, this is less than 8% of what the utility actually spends installing a gas line, a service line. And so that is why we ask you to start utilizing natural gas service. And if that does not happen within 6 months, then we ask people to pay what we actually paid to install their line. Let's see, sign up for service. So then once we both agreed that this is an application that's going to be moved forward for construction, we do a site survey, which is when one of our representatives comes to your house or business to draw a little map of where everything is and where your meter is going to go and how your service line will be routed. We then install your service, and then you do everything in your house or business, and then we come turn it on. Now, also here is a service map, like Jomo was talking about earlier. You can click on here, and it is a searchable tool where you can put in an address, and it's going to show you where that address is in relation to the IGU main line. Right here, so.
I suggest you put in Jomo's address on Coppett Street, and we can embarrass him that he has no excuses anymore.
I was gonna have her check South Cushman because I want to see how close my triplex is.
Okay, well, what's your South Cushman?
Sucker's killing me, y'all. What is it? 1123 Coppett, or should it be 1123 23rd Avenue? Was it 1129? 1129 23rd. Here we go. I don't know.
I haven't had to be there in a while.
Jesus.
I was just there dropping off fuel.
11.
Last vestige of my broken marriage.
Here you go. See? It's right here.
Well, it's right there. It's on 23rd. It used to be on 24th.
Well, it's on 33rd and 24th.
Well, hush my mouth. Okay. Cool.
Want to save money, want to be more efficient, want to help air quality? Come on, buddy.
You're hired, David.
I want to pass it on to a new owner.
You can't afford not to.
I can't. I really can't.
Value by 10% before you sell it.
Yeah, you don't know my triplex. All right. Well, Elena, this was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. I guess for my big punchlines from this presentation, as always, it's that the resources available, though we weren't sure when we all started this process, we had very limited supply and very limited ability to move it around town. Now we have ample ability to move it on town. We have ample supply and it's growing. The price is good, and we have the capacity for further installs so you can have service, and we have substantial funds that can help you defray the cost of that conversion to that cheaper, cleaner fuel source. So call IGU. The one thing that was interesting to me was a little pre-thought would be good. You mentioned on that application, what appliance or appliances might you want to fuel with your natural gas? I mean, we always think about the furnace, the space heating furnace, but there's gas dryers, gas stoves, and other appliances where where you can further accrue savings with such high electric rates in the community. by
Yes,
use of natural
absolutely. And then the very last thing I'm going to say about this, there is going to be a busy legislative session and it's going to center around energy a lot because of all of the concerns about natural gas availability in the Cook Inlet. One thing that I would like to remind everybody that I am also putting that on the agenda for the next board meeting for a recommended IGU legislative priority. Anytime there is talk about a gas line coming from the North Slope and going to the South Central area, whether it be the Alaska LNG or an in-state bullet line, none of the plans include a spur to Fairbanks as part of its original design. All of that is forever an afterthought. It is interior gas position, and I believe it should be a community position, and that a spur line is part of the main project, and that interior rate payers are not having to pay more than South Central payers, especially to if there is any money input from Juneau into a gas line.
That has long been a position of FEDC, as you well know.
I do, and I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. I will tell you one other thing, and actually Mike will tell you because I won't shut up about it. Another opportunity might be if some things are going to happen in legislation and dollars spent, we could amend the underlying statute to allow the North Pole LNG storage facility to qualify for tax credit, which would be a further $6 to $7 million rebate to the IGU, which could be used for things like retirement of pricey debt, mainline extensions, service line support, potentially even internal conversion assistance from the utility. But again, if that opportunity comes, I want them to know that it's something they should jump on. Well, all right, everybody, this has been a magnificent presentation. I will be circling around again with Mr. Hoke to see if we can't get a presentation relative to the new targeted airshed grant funds, just that account basically, and what funds would be available to help homeowners convert from older, dirtier appliances using dirtier fuels to newer, cleaner appliances burning cleaner, and in this case, cheaper fuels. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Hope you have a great day. Again, Miss Elena, IGU, Team IGU, thank you so much for all of your efforts, and we will see you again soon.
Nice job, Elena.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Sorry, I wasn't in the room. I promise I tried. I just